Hey everyone, so for this video we're taking a little look at the Assetto Corsa EVO Early Access roadmap, and I'm going to try and give you guys a bit of a rough understanding how often we could expect to receive new content in the early access period of Assetto Corsa EVO. The numbers I'm going to be talking about in this video may not be completely accurate. We do not know the exact release date of 1.0 for Assetto Corsa EVO, so I could be a bit off here and it might not be as consistent as what I'm about to say. But I'm going to base these numbers off of a rough estimate around where we would expect 1.0 to be released, and I'm also going to be going off of information that we already have here in front of us. So for this case, I'm going to just estimate that we'd receive 1.0 a bit later in fall this year. That could be around November. Here, I'm probably just going to go off of November 1st. It won't be November 1st, but let's just say around there, November 1st. Okay, so between the initial launch of early access for Assetto Corsa EVO, January 16th and November 1st, is 289 days. And throughout this period, we'll get 6 early access builds of Assetto Corsa EVO, the one we've already had, and then we'll also get 6 content drops throughout this period of time. Okay, so there are 6 gaps between each early access build and the final release of Assetto Corsa EVO up until November 1st. So if we divide that 289 days by 6, we get 48. So that's approximately how much time we'd have to wait between each early access build if it stays consistent. So just over a month we'd probably be receiving a new early access build for Assetto Corsa EVO in early access. Now there are also 6 content drops, so with that in mind we could probably expect them to release halfway between each early access build, right? So if that stays fairly consistent, we can say divide 48 by half, that's 24 days. 24 days after Jan 16 we'd likely receive the first content drop, and then we add another 48 days after the first content drop, we'll have content drop 2, and with that all in mind, we could possibly expect to receive new content, including early access builds for Assetto Corsa EVO early access every 24 days or so, which is just over 3 weeks. That's quite regular content, so there'll be enough to keep us going over this year up until the first full release of Assetto Corsa EVO, and I'm quite excited for it. And like I said before, these numbers might not be completely accurate, they might not be as regular as I say, and maybe they'll end up being monthly drops. Maybe we'll get a new early access build every month, and then the gap between early access 6 and 1.0 release could be a little bit bigger than the rest. Could be a little bit like that. We can't be sure right now. Right, so now that we have a rough idea of how often we could expect new content to come to early access in Assetto Corsa EVO, the new question would be, how much content do we get in each content drop in early access build between now and 1.0? Right, so first I'm going to start with the tracks. There are going to be 15 circuits by 1.0, and we currently have 6 circuits available. Beyond the very first early access build, which we have already, there are going to be 11 separate drops or builds coming to Assetto Corsa EVO. That includes all the content drops and early access builds from now on, 11 of them. And there's only 9 more tracks that we are yet to receive. So we can already see here at content drop 1, we'll receive Fuji Speedway, and in early access build 2, we'll receive Circuit of the Americas. I would assume, well, that we will not get a new track every single build and content drop between now and 1.0. But one little thing to add on top of this is the free roam aspect of Assetto Corsa EVO. For that 4th early access build, where it says there free roaming, we will likely not get a circuit in my thoughts here, and we will get the free roam open world map. So that could be something that takes up the place of one of the circuits. So by 1.0 we'll have 15 circuits and the free roam map. Okay, so now to talk about cars. We've already got 20 of them, and there'll be 100 by 1.0. That would leave 80 still to be released, and I wouldn't expect there to be an even drop of cars every time we get a content drop or early access build, because as we can see here, for the first content drop there will only be 2 cars, but the second early access release will have 5 cars. So we could probably expect to see a similar pattern throughout the early access development of Assetto Corsa EVO. But with some quick maths being done, if we got 2 new cars every single content drop, so that's 6 times 2, there would only be 12 cars through each content drop. For each early access build, if we were to get 5 new cars, which would be 5 more early access drops from here forth, we would only get 25, so that adds up to 37. I would likely expect through some of these content drops and early access builds, we would receive bigger groups of cars here and there, so it's not going to stay completely consistent. Some of these drops will get less, some of these drops will get more. That we can't really predict right now. But what we can definitely say is that through each of these builds, we'll get a decent selection of new content to be trying out each time. Okay, so now, how long could we expect it to be until we get our first content drop for Assetto Corsa EVO? Well, like I was talking about earlier, it could be about 24 days from the first initial release that we get the first content drop. It's not going to be exactly 24 days, but it could be somewhere around there. And 24 days after Jan 16th is February the 9th, and that would be just over 2 weeks from now. So roughly 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks from now, we could possibly expect to see our first content drop, the first or additional 2 cars and Fuji Speedway. So that's really not that far from now. In fact, Fuji Speedway, the next track to come, is the first track I think we're getting that isn't already in ACC. So it will be cool to see a brand new track in Assetto Corsa again. Right, so what's remaining to talk about is what we have on screen right here. The first content drop, we're going to be getting 2 new cars. We do not know what they will be. We'll get new special events from the little look we've had at the Driving Academy and the special events so far. The special events all appear to just be hot stints, which is pretty much similar to what we had in ACC. We could just expect to see similar stuff to like that in the first content drop. So maybe some new hot lap events, stuff like that, hot stints, I guess. And then also Fuji Speedway, which I'm really looking forward to, and that will be the first content drop. Second early access release, however, will get 5 new cars. Circuit of the Americas, another track we do have in ACC, but that'll still be some fun. Single player custom race weekend, that's one feature we don't have access to yet, so we'll be able to set up how many sessions we have, I guess practice, qualifying, race. That'll all be with AI though, and more special events, replay tools and galleries, so that'll be quite nice. Hopefully it will give us the ability to take some nice screenshots. VR support step 2. I'm not too familiar with all the VR stuff that's going on. I haven't tried it yet, so I'm not going to comment too much there. And same with triple screen support. I don't run triple screen, so I don't know everyone's experience with triple screen and VR so far, but look to see some updates there in the second early access release. Content drop 2 and beyond, we have no idea what's coming. Early access 3, we can see that there's multiplayer planned. Very exciting because we all desperately want that. I think once multiplayer comes to AC EVO, then it's really going to start taking off and we're all going to be able to have more fun together. And then by the 4th early access release, we get free roam map. That I guess will also be a lot of fun for a lot of you watching this. And then by the 4th early access release, we'll get free roam, the open world map. That'll be really interesting to see and try out. But that's all we know for now. We don't have any other information other than what's actually coming on 1.0, but I'm sure we all have looked at that by now and you can see it on the screen. Make sure if you're looking to get some new sim racing equipment to check out the Camus link in my description and use the code UNLEASH if you decide to purchase anything, you'll get a little discount. So that's going to be all for this video. I hope my numbers weren't too far off. Like I said, it's not going to be completely accurate, but we can now have a bit more of a rough idea of how often and how much to expect in the coming releases. Thank you for watching and see you soon.